There's something strange that happens when you're stressed about money. You're not really thinking about money itself. You're thinking about not having it. You're lying in bed at 2 a.m., wide awake, staring at the ceiling. Your car's making a weird noise, and you're terrified it's going to cost you $3,000 that you absolutely don't have. You're sitting in a meeting at work, but you're not listening to your boss. Instead, you're doing mental math, trying to figure out if your paycheck will cover rent, groceries, and that bill you completely forgot about. You're standing in the grocery store aisle, calculator running in your head, deciding what you can and can't afford. You're saying no to hanging out with friends because you're silently calculating whether you can actually afford to go. And it's exhausting, to the kind of tired that sleep can't fix. Because it's not your body that's tired, it's your mind. Your brain is constantly running in the background, stressed out, trying to solve a problem that feels impossible. Trying to figure out how to stretch your money further than it can possibly go. This is what most people think money stress is, not having enough. But here's what nobody talks about, that's only half the problem. The real problem is that when you don't have money, you don't have peace, you don't have calm, you don't have control. And you definitely don't have confidence. My name is Will, and I've spent way too much time thinking about money, about the psychology behind it, and more importantly, about how to actually get something most people chase their entire lives but never quite catch: financial calm. And it's not what you think. If you want to know what real financial calm looks like and how to build it step by step without needing to be rich, hit that subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up if it helps you finally stop stressing about money. Financial calm isn't about being wealthy. It's not about having $1 million in the bank or driving a fancy car or being able to retire tomorrow. Those things might happen eventually, and that's great, but they're not the same thing as peace. I know plenty of people making six figures who are still stressed about money constantly. They're worried about losing their job, worried they're not saving enough, worried inflation is going to destroy everything they've worked for. They're still doing mental calculations at the grocery store, just with a bigger paycheck. And I know people making $40,000 or $50,000 a year who sleep like babies at night because they've figured out something most high earners haven't. And that something is financial calm. Financial calm is the feeling you get when you know that if something goes wrong tomorrow, you'll be okay. It's going to the grocery store without doing math in your head about whether you can afford the name brand or if you need to stick with generic. It's being able to say no to opportunities that don't serve you instead of saying yes to everything because you desperately need the money. It's turning down that sketchy side gig or that job offer that feels wrong because you have options. You have time to find something better. It's waking up in the morning and your first thought isn't about your bank account. But you're not immediately pulling up your banking app. You're not doing emergency math to see if you're okay. That's financial calm. And it's actually not that hard to create once you understand the real building blocks. Most people think it's this impossible thing that only happens to other people, or that you have to be rich to get there. But you don't. You just need to know what to build and in what order. The first building block is what I call a calm buffer. Most people think the first step to financial calm is making more money. Wrong. The first step is creating a small cushion between you and complete disaster. A calm buffer is basically an emergency fund, but I'm calling it a calm buffer because that's what it actually does. It creates calm. When you have $1,000 sitting in a savings account, you're in a completely different mental space than when you have zero. I'm not saying $1,000 is going to change your life dramatically or fund your retirement, but psychologically, it changes everything. It's not about the money itself. It's about what that money represents. It represents options. It represents being able to handle life's surprises without completely panicking. Your car breaks down and costs $500 to fix. Instead of panic, instead of lying awake wondering how you're going to pay for it, instead of putting it on a credit card at 20% interest, instead of calling your parents to borrow money and dealing with all that awkwardness, you just fix your car. You write the check. Done. It's annoying. You're frustrated, but it's not a disaster. It's not a crisis. That's the first level of peace. But you move through the world differently when you know you have a small cushion. You're not constantly on edge about every possible expense. You're not running survival calculations non-stop. You're not playing out worst-case scenarios in your head 24/7. When you get to 3 months of living expenses saved, something else happens. You cross a threshold. Something shifts inside you. Suddenly, you're not in survival mode anymore. Most people's brains are stuck in survival mode when they're living paycheck to paycheck. Every single decision gets filtered through fear. Take the job you hate, you have to. You need that paycheck. Leave the toxic relationship, you can't. You need to split rent. Try something new or invest in yourself? Impossible. Your brain literally cannot think past the immediate threats to your survival. Yes, but when you have 3 months of expenses saved, your brain gets a signal that you're going to be okay for a while. You're not going to be homeless next month. Your kids are going to eat. The lights are staying on. And when your brain gets that signal, it stops running the survival program at full blast and starts thinking about growth. That's when real peace starts showing up. The second building block is control. And this is where most people screw up because they think control means obsessively tracking every single penny like some kind of financial robot. That's not control. That's just anxiety dressed up differently. That's making yourself miserable in a new way. Real control is simply knowing where your money is going. Most people have absolutely no idea. They look at their account and money just vanishes. Where did it go? Did I spend that? I don't remember. Was it groceries or online shopping? I'm not sure. This is how people end up broke and confused. They're not always broke because they don't make enough money. Sometimes that's part of it, sure. But mostly they're broke because they have no clue where it's going. They're bleeding money without even realizing it. You start getting control by doing something really simple but kind of tedious. You just write down what you spend for 1 month. Actually track it. Not to judge yourself, not to feel guilty or beat yourself up, just to see. Because once you see where it's going, you can actually make decisions about it instead of just letting it happen to you. You realize you're spending $400 a month on subscriptions you forgot existed, Netflix you haven't watched in months. Now that gym membership you haven't used since January, some random app you signed up for once, you're spending $300 on coffee and takeout that you didn't plan for. It just added up. You're throwing money away on things that don't actually matter to you. And the moment you see that, you can make a choice. Some of it you cut, some of it you keep because it actually is worth it. But you're choosing instead of just letting it happen. That's control. And control creates calm. When you know where your money is going, you stop feeling helpless about it. You're not a victim anymore. You're making active decisions. You're being intentional. That creates a sense of power that's incredibly important psychologically. It's the difference between something happening to you and you making it happen. The third building block is getting rid of the specific kind of debt that keeps you trapped. Not all debt is the same, not even close. A mortgage on a reasonable house, that's not the same as credit card debt at 22% interest. Student loans that are helping you build your career and earning potential, that's different than personal loans for vacations you took 5 years ago and can barely remember. There's a massive difference. The debt that destroys peace is high-interest debt. Credit card debt specifically, because credit card debt isn't really normal debt. It's a trap disguised as convenience. It's a weight that keeps getting heavier. You spend money you don't have right now. You don't pay it back immediately. And then interest piles up so fast that the thing you bought for $200 ends up costing you $400, then $500. You're making minimum payments and barely touching the actual balance. It's this slow financial suffocation that never quite feels like a crisis until suddenly it absolutely is. You've been drowning so long you forgot what it felt like to breathe normally. Getting rid of credit card debt isn't just a financial decision, it's a peace decision. It's a sanity decision. As long as you're carrying it, it's sitting on your chest. It's in the back of your mind constantly. Every purchase you make, you're aware it's probably getting added to the pile. You can't breathe. You can't relax because you know the interest is working against you every single day. Every day you don't pay it off. Yes, you're losing money to interest. Money just disappearing into thin air. I know people who paid off their credit card debt and said it felt like someone lifted a concrete block off their chest, like they could finally take a full breath, like they forgot what it felt like to not be stressed. That's what eliminating high-interest debt does for your peace. It's not just about the money. It's about the psychological relief of knowing it's gone. It's not sitting there waiting for you anymore. The fourth building block is building confidence through small wins. Financial calm isn't just about security or safety. It's about confidence. It's about knowing you can do hard things, that you can make sacrifices and see actual results, that you're not powerless in your own financial situation, that you have agency. Yeah, most people feel completely powerless. They feel like money just happens to them. They get paid. Bills automatically come out. They survive until the next paycheck. And that's just how life is. That's just the game. That's just what being an adult means. But that's not how it has to be. When you save your first $1,000 and put it in an account and leave it there for a few months and watch it sit there as your safety net, something shifts inside you. You prove to yourself that you can do it. You did something hard. You made sacrifices and you won. When you pay off your first credit card and watch that balance hit zero, you just proved you can beat debt. You can win against something that felt unbeatable. When you negotiate your bills and cut your subscriptions and suddenly have an extra $200 a month, as you proved you can take control of your situation. These wins build on each other. Confidence creates momentum. Momentum creates more wins. And suddenly you're not the person who feels powerless anymore. You're not the person things happen to. You're the person who makes things happen. You're the person who gets stuff done. And that confidence bleeds into other areas of your life too. You're more confident in job negotiations because you know you don't desperately need that specific job. You have options. You can walk away if it's not right. That confidence often leads to better opportunities and better pay because people respond to confidence. You're more confident in your relationships because you're not constantly stressed about money, so you're more present and engaged. That you're more confident in your decisions generally because you've proven to yourself that you're capable of following through. The fifth building block is understanding that financial calm is about psychology just as much as it's about numbers. This is where most financial advice completely misses the point. People talk about saving rates and investment returns and compound interest, and those things do matter. Don't get me wrong, the math matters. But what really matters is how you think about money, because your thoughts determine your behaviors, and your behaviors determine your results. It's that simple. Most people have a scarcity mindset about money. They see money as something that's always running out. They see saving as deprivation, like cutting off their own oxygen. They see investing as risky and unnecessary and way too complicated, so they don't save. They don't invest. They live paycheck to paycheck and nothing ever changes, year after year after year. They're stuck in this trap because they're operating from a scarcity mindset. But people with financial calm have a different mindset. They see money as a tool that creates more options for them. They see saving as building power for themselves. They see investing as buying their future freedom. So they save, they invest, their circumstances change, they move forward. The money didn't change. The mindset changed everything. Once you have calm, control, and that initial confidence, you start developing what I call an abundance mindset. Not because you suddenly have tons of money, you probably don't. But because you have space to think about growth instead of just survival. Your brain isn't stuck in panic mode anymore, and that changes your entire path forward. You start noticing opportunities for making money that you didn't see before. Side hustles, freelance work, asking for raises, things you probably would have dismissed before as too risky or too much work or not for someone like you. But now that you've got a foundation, you can take those risks because you know you're not going to lose everything if it doesn't work out. You've got a buffer, you've got options. You start thinking about your career differently. You're not just trying to keep the job you have and hoping they don't fire you. You're thinking about how to build a career that pays more, that's more fulfilling, that has more potential. You start making better financial decisions overall because you're not making them from panic and desperation. You're making them from intention, and intention creates a completely different life. Here's the thing most people don't realize about financial calm. It's not actually that far away. You don't need to be wealthy to have it. You don't need a six-figure income. You don't need to be special or lucky or brilliant at investing or born with some financial superpower. You just need to be intentional. You just need to follow a sequence. Stop the bleeding by getting rid of high-interest debt. Build a small safety net so your brain knows you're going to be okay. Get control of your spending so you know where your money is actually going. Win some small battles so you start believing in yourself and building confidence. And then change your mindset from scarcity to growth. That's it. That's the whole thing. Most people never do it because it feels too slow. They want to skip straight to the six-figure income or the investment portfolio or the passive income that magically solves all their problems. They want the shortcut. But you have to build the foundation first. And the foundation is financial calm. Start with your calm buffer. If you don't have $1,000 saved, that's step one. Not investing in crypto because you heard about some guy who got rich. Not picking individual stocks. Not starting a business on a shoestring budget. Just save your first 1,000. That'll probably take you a few months depending on what you make. Then build that up to 3 months of living expenses. That might take a year or two. Meanwhile, while you're building your emergency fund, start getting control of your spending. Track it. Cut the things that aren't serving you, the subscriptions you forgot about, the stuff you buy but don't actually use. Then aggressively attack any high-interest debt you have. Stop using credit cards if you're carrying a balance. Just stop. Stop adding to it. Pay them off. This is the boring stuff, the unglamorous stuff. It's not exciting. Nobody's making viral videos about how they saved $1,000 over 6 months. There's no drama, no excitement, but this is what separates people who achieve financial calm from people who stay stuck forever. This is what separates people who actually build wealth from people who never do. Once you've got the foundation, then you start thinking about bigger moves. Then you start investing for real. Then you start building multiple income streams. Then you start thinking about long-term wealth and retirement and all that stuff. But you do it from a position of peace, not panic. You do it from a position of control, not chaos. You do it from a position of confidence, not desperation. And that changes everything. That fundamentally transforms what's possible for you. Financial calm is available to you right now. It doesn't require a massive income. It doesn't require getting lucky or winning the lottery. It requires being intentional. It requires patience. It requires discipline. It requires showing up and doing the work even when it feels slow and boring and like you're not making any progress. But the peace that comes on the other side of that work, the calm, the control, the confidence, it's worth every single bit of effort you put in. Trust me on this.